We are Keys and Gears, the podcast where we give you the keys to real estate and the gears to get you there.
We break down what's really happening in the Dallas market.
And we give you straight talk that helps you buy smart, sell wise, and live well.
Let's roll.
Welcome back, everybody, to Keys and Gears, where we give you the background on real estate and give you the nitty-gritty of real estate that you normally don't hear about. I'm Mark Liesner. I'm a local lender, and I'm here with Bess Dickson, a local real estate pro in Texas. And let's dive into it. Today, we're going to talk about, Bess.
What you going to hit me with? Bring it.
We're gonna talk about, here are the things you should know about HOAs. Here are the things that can cause you a lot of grief down the road if you don't understand these things, if you don't know these things.
And grief is spelled C-A-S-H. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it can cost you a lot of money. And today we're going to talk about HOAs. And it's not a very sexy topic, but we want to explain to you what HOAs are. HOAs, homeowners associations. Mm-hmm. They're usually in condo buildings, but they're also in single family homes. So if you're buying a new build community, a lot of times they have HOAs. So what are the 6 things you need to know before you buy in an HOA? The number one thing is you want to ask for a reserve study. Okay. That's number one, the question to ask. Do you have a reserve study? How old is it? Is it more than 3 years old? So we'll get into that. Second one is, how many people in the HOA are not paying their dues every month?
What's that percentage?
And what's that percentage? And if it's above 10%, I would say it's probably a red flag. Okay, so stay below 10%. You're buying in a okay neighborhood. Okay. The next one is, how often is the budget, being reviewed by the HOA, by professionals, by the whole community? Because if the budget's not up to date, then all of a sudden surprises happen, and surprises cost you more money as a homeowner, right? So the next one is, what are the things that I'm allowed to do? Because HOAs have restrictions. You can't do everything you want to a house, right?
Covenants.
You can't have a pink pony in the front yard.
That's right.
You can't have a car on bricks, things like that. So we'll get into that. And the next one, am I allowed to do short-term rental? And some even a rental period. Am I allowed to lease my home at all? Right? So make sure that if you have a change in your life, which does happen, and you can't sell it or don't want to sell it, what are your options, right, to get out of it? And then lastly, if this is mainly for homeowners, single family homes, if the home gets older, what am I allowed to renovate? What am I allowed to change on the house? And what kind of approval process do I need to go through to actually get the work done?
And that's in relation to the exterior.
Right. That's mostly exterior. I don't think there's much on the interior they can talk about, but the exterior for sure. And it can change how you sell your house, right? So those are the 6 things we're going to get into today. Hopefully it'll be interesting enough for you to watch, and we'll have a second part. There's going to be more questions that we're going to ask about, so stay tuned for that, or tune in for that later. So we're trying to help you understand, what are the ins and outs of HOAs, okay? And this is probably going to be a 2-part series, so it's not just the first. So look for the second part of this as well. Let's dive right into it, Bess. First one on my list is, most home buyers will get the HOA packet, right, and never look at it.
And they receive it from the title company as part of
a lot of documents,
the due diligence process in buying a house.
So you as a buyer buy this packet. It costs money to generate this packet. But then what do you do with the packet? What do you do with all the documents that you get in there? And the first one I have is, I would ask the real estate professional to ask the HOA, when was the last time they did a reserve study? And why is a reserve study so important? A reserve study shows they hire a third-party company to review their budget and make sure that upcoming expenses are covered by what the HOA, what each homeowner has paid into the HOA. What percentage of upcoming things that need to be taken care of are already funded?
So it's an audit.
It's an audit. Exactly.
It's a current and future audit.
Right. And what I see a lot of times is that these HOAs have not spent the money on these studies because they're obviously not cheap. And so you have reserve studies that are 5-10 years old. And guess what? The buildings that you all are living in have changed over these 5 to 10 years. And the repairs that are coming up, the deferred maintenance that needs to be done has changed over that time. So my recommendation is there's a red flag if that reserve study is older than 3 years. That to me is a red flag.
That's a good benchmark.
So as a home buyer, if you hear that the reserve study is 5 years old or 10 years old, that's a big red flag, because what ends up happening is what?
Surprises, assessments.
That's right.
HOA fee increases.
Right.
So many things.
So that will cost you money in the future, because all of a sudden the HOA has the right to come back to you and say, guess what? We need a new roof. We need this and that. And the HOA fee that you've been paying in all this time is not covering that, because we didn't ask for enough money.
And why is all this possible, Mark? It's because HOA, besides being letters in the alphabet, it actually means something. It's a home owners association. So when you buy a home, be it a townhome, a condo, or a single family home that is in an HOA, you are buying into a house family by choice. You're buying into a club. You're a community of people that have agreed to follow the rules together, to enforce together, to maintain certain things that are outlined in the HOA documents together. And that can mean anything and nothing. It all depends on that packet that most people ignore.
That's right. Because they don't know what they're looking at. They just don't understand. And as a listing agent, be sure that you have the phone number of the HOA president, and please forward that to the buyer agent so that that you as a buyer can actually call the president directly, because most of them will answer the phone. Most of them will be open to talking to you, because they want to see that the HOA succeeds and gets, the house sold, right?
And differentiator there, if I may, Mark, president, not the management.
Not the management company. They won't talk to you.
Or the management company representative.
No.
Or
you want the actual president who lives in the community. Because you want to ask them questions like, hey, what about the reserve study? What about the budget? How's it looking? What are the special assessments that are coming down the pike? Because they're going to be much more open to that conversation than other people in the transaction, right? So that's red flag number one. Red flag number two is delinquency rate. So how many of the current HOA homeowners are not paying into that HOA, are not paying their monthly dues, right? That's a red flag.
Great question.
And those are sometimes hard to find. Those answers are because people don't want to give out that information. But as a buyer, you due diligence, you should do that, right?
And of course, if they're less than upfront, that's another flag, or at least a pink flag, if it's not a red flag. I mean, it's like transparency usually is a hallmark of integrity.
Exactly. So the delinquency rate is a bad sign. If it's a high delinquency, you're always going to have a bad apple in the bunch that's not paying.
Well, in lifetimes, things happen.
Right.
I mean,
And by the way, the HOA can foreclose
in Texas
that homeowner for not paying the HOA. That's another one. Then the next one is, how often is the budget being reviewed, and have you looked at the budget yourself and kind of maybe Googled some things about the budget? Don't just ask questions about the budget. There's nothing, again, if you talk to the president, you can ask questions. You can ask somebody like Bess, hey, here's some things I don't understand about the budget. And those budget items, if they're not, I find this mostly in self-managed HOAs. The budgets are fudged.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're trying to make it look good.
A lot of ish. It's about 100,000 ish for that. It's
right.
20,000 ish for
With
this.
the management company, a lot of times the budget is more tightened up, buttoned up. But self-managed HOAs are probably a whole nother podcast. because there's a lot more issues with those. But budget, don't just glance at it. Really look at it line item by line item. You know, and say if there's a future need for a new roof and it's only $10,000 budgeted, but you look at the building and you think to yourself, how can that be $10,000? So you might want to ask some questions, right? Have you had any experience on the budget, looking at budgets?
Yes. And it runs the gamut.
Yeah.
It runs the gamut. Again, because an HOA, I mean, the officers on the HOA are fellow homeowners. So they're all volunteers.
Right.
And so there's a wide range of capabilities and time invested. And so the budget sometimes is reflective of that.
Yeah.
And priorities, right? I mean, the community that has a line item budget of $2,500 for Christmas decorations, well, maybe that, you know, and Christmas is not a big deal to you. I don't know. That might be something you question. I don't know.
Right. So budgets are important because, again, goes to what are you going to outlay in the future in terms of cash. The next one is, you know, covenants, restrictions, the bylaws. What as a HOA, what are they allowed to do? What are you allowed to do as a homeowner? And especially single family homes. You know, there's lots of lawsuits about, hey, you weren't allowed to put that playground into your backyard because it was pink, and we don't allow pink ponies. You know, and so you have to understand, what are you allowed to do?
Again, you're buying into an organization that has known rules, and you're buying in. And if you buy the house, you are buying into agreeing to abide by those rules.
Right.
So if a pink polka dot front door is very important to you, and in the CC&Rs it says all doors have to be some various shade of brown, then that is probably a deal breaker for you. And it's good to know before you write a check.
If you have 4 kids and you're not allowed to have more than 2 cars in front of your house, you may have a problem.
Right.
You know, what's going to happen? You know,
I mean, sadly, a real life story was on that exact car situation. There was an HOA. Their CC&Rs were no vehicles, no oversized vehicles parked in the driveway. Period.
It's the most
And there was
common.
and that's a common one actually. And there was a veteran that was deployed.
Yeah.
National Guard person. He was deployed, and the HOA tried to foreclose on his house, I believe, while he was in Iraq. So this was a minute ago.
It's crazy.
Because his wife obviously had many things going on, many higher priorities, kind of received the warning that HOAs are required to do, but didn't think anything of it because it was their truck in their driveway, and they were current on their HOA dues, and the HOA tried to foreclose on their house. And that turned into that neighborhood has since adjusted a bit. But the idea, I believe, from what I've been told, was that just to keep cars off of blocks
Yes.
in people's driveways. And so that's a well-meaning thing, but...
And it's also, you know, we're kind of harping on HOAs. HOAs have a really good... I mean, there's a reason why they have HOAs, right?
And why they're popular, because they are effective.
Because it does protect your home's value, right?
To a certain degree.
If there's a standard to how your home should look, that means that your value is protected from your neighbor who's not keeping up his house, right?
True.
So in that respect, if you're living in a condo high-rise and there's noise restrictions, that's probably not a bad thing, right? You can't have parties past a certain hour, for example, you know. So that those restrictions are there for a reason, but sometimes they're a little oppressive. Let's put it that way.
Correct. Dog breed restrictions in high-rise condos
Yes.
can sometimes be a little bit
Right.
interesting.
The other one that comes up these days frequently is Airbnb, right?
Yes.
Are you allowed to do short-term rentals in your condo building, in your single-family house community that you just bought from, you know, D.R. Horton? Are you allowed to do a short-term rental, right? There's laws around that within the governance of the HOA. A lot of them don't.
Read your rules.
So read them. And the last one, the due diligence-wise, for this episode, I think we need to talk about is improvements. And we kind of touched on it. What are you allowed to improve? How are you allowed to improve it? And I kind of compare it to if you live in a historic district of a town, you have restrictions as to what you can do with that home. How you need to renovate it there are guidelines around that. Same with the HOA. If you want to change the front of the house, you're going to be very restricted as to what you can be doing to that house. So a lot of people get caught out.
But wrapping up all that HOA chat, I mean, again, it is run by fellow homeowners. So, I mean, a great key takeaway for all this is if everything looks great and you do move forward and buy the house, buy the condo, buy the townhome, get involved in the HOA, because then you have a real live active say so on how things move forward.
And and you know what's going on. At the very least, attend the meetings. At the very least, if not get involved.
Very well.
So, all right.
Well said. Well said.
So what is the picture of the week?
The picture. Well, speaking of HOAs, all right. So this home is in an HOA, and as you can see by the blue Supra lockbox, it is listed right now. Of note, it's a mahogany door that desperately needs to be stained. So no surprise, this home has been on the market for over 300 days. Wow. Even in the current interesting fluid market that we are in, it's
a long
time. So there's so many things here. One, I mean, if you were a buyer walking up to this house, where's the wow? Where is the compelling, I've got to write a check for this house? It doesn't exist. Number two, as an HOA, all right, this HOA does have some rules governing the colors of the doors, and it's all various degrees. As I was saying earlier, it's various degrees of brown.
You're right.
All right. So what's interesting is if this home goes under contract with a door like that, what you need to know is for HOAs, before part of the HOA transfer process, which must occur from seller to buyer, is the HOA will have a physical visual drive-by. So something when you see something like this, one, it shows that there's low, but what was the rest of the house? Is it well maintained? I don't know. The front door certainly is not. But this is going to be a hit and a hiccup on the closing process, because the HOA will mandate that front door does get stained and brought back into HOA rules and covenants before the closing can occur. And that's the kind of power that they have. So
that can add up.
Right. It's those little things that add up.
Right.
So just be aware. Just be aware.
And again, if you don't have a real estate pro on your side, you won't know that until the very last minute. So yeah. There's too much going on. So to recap, we've got 6 different things to look at. You've got to look at the reserves, got to look at the reserve study, you've got to look at the budget, got to look at the delinquencies, how many people are behind. You got to look at their covenants, the restrictions, what can you do, what can't you do.
And can you live with those restrictions?
Yeah. And, are you allowed to do short-term rental to somebody if you needed to? If you were, extended stay with your mother-in-law and you wanted to rent it out for a minute, could you do it? And then lastly, the renovation part, what are you allowed to do within your house, outside of your house, what's allowed, what's not allowed. Again, so those are kind of key questions you need to ask, but there's more. We've got more to go over.
There's more.
And HOAs are complicated, and everybody that owns a house that I've talked to that in an HOA has always said to me, I wish I'd known these things right before I bought.
Yeah.
And that's where part of our podcast comes from,
is sad.
Learning what people aren't paying attention to, and so you don't have to make the same mistakes.
It's just sexy to talk about it at a cocktail party.
No, it's not interesting.
Or on a
It's just interesting when you're in the
episode.
process, right?
Right.
So anyway, we're Keys and Gears. Like us, suggest topics we should talk about. You can find us on Spotify as well, and obviously on YouTube. So look forward to seeing you next time.